What disability affects 1 in every 88 children, costs the nation $137 billion per year, and has no medical detection or cure? The answer to this riddle would be autism, according to autismspeaks.org. I'm guaranteed that most of you have heard of the term autism, but a lot of you probably don't know what it is. Today I'll be informing you on what it is, what causes it, and how families live with it. Autism is a group of complex disorders of brain development. It is broken down into 3 specific problem areas, including routine or repetitive behavior, verbal and nonverbal communication, and lack of social interaction. Depending on what type of autism they are diagnosed with, people vary from having 1 to all of these areas affecting them. There are 5 different types of autism known in the autism spectrum. There is autistic disorder, childhood disintegrative disorder, pervasive developmental disorder, Asperger's syndrome, and Rett syndrome. The 2 I found to be most interesting were childhood disintegrative disorder and Asperger's syndrome. Childhood disintegrative disorder, also known as CDD, is a type of autism that allows a child to develop normally until the ages 2 to 4. After that, they start to demonstrate an extreme loss of social skills and communication skills. Over time, children with CDD experience a severe loss of language, social, and motor skills. This is the least common type of autism. Asperger's syndrome is probably the most common type of autism. It tends to be a little milder than the other types and has to do with social isolation and eccentric behavior. People with Asperger's also have slight impairments in 2-sided social interaction and nonverbal communication, along with having a tendency to focus on one area of interest. For example, any of you that have seen the show Parenthood on NBC know the character Max, who has Asperger's. The only thing he ever wants to talk about or seems to care about is his love for insects and reptiles. He usually has out-of-control tantrums when plans change, and he is not very grounded when it comes down to his social skills. Usually, autism is more noticeable at young ages. According to the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, some signs of autism might include not socially interacting well with others, demonstrating repetitive behavior, having dislike to noise, and being very strict about routine. Anyone who notices these things in their child should get them diagnosed right away. There are no definite cures for autism, but there are ways to help. 3 basic ways include educational behavioral interventions, medications, and a number of controversial therapies. Autism is a lot more common than a lot of you think. According to the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, it affects every 1 in 54 boys and every 1 in 252 girls in the U.S. Still don't see how common that is? Well, CDC also states that more children are diagnosed with autism each year than with juvenile diabetes, AIDS, and cancer combined. I could hardly believe it myself. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, how do people get autism? Unfortunately, the answers you will get to these questions are mainly false, such as immunizations being the cause. According to autismspeaks.org, 15% of autism diagnostics spring from genetics, but as for the other 85%, it remains a mystery. Hearing the words, "your child has autism," aren't the words that any family wants to hear. But for the families who do have to hear these words, they have to make major changes. These changes vary by family and type of autism involved. They have to change their habits, the way they live, their schedules, and make room for all the new life demands that they are going to be hit with. Some families have specialists and therapists to work with their child and or family as a whole. Some parents have to quit their jobs and devote all their time to working with their child. And most families have to change old habits into new ones that will create a better environment and system for their child. I've actually gotten the opportunity to get a grasp on how difficult it must be for families to find out their child has autism. I work at an elementary school, and my job is to watch 40+ kids at a time, including a younger boy with autism. It is difficult because when we're trying to do group activities or something he doesn't find interesting, he usually does things like throws a fit or yells about how he doesn't like all the people being around. I found it difficult to work with him at first because of how stubborn he could be. But after working with him for a couple of months and getting to know him, I feel like I have more of an understanding of how I can handle him. I have learned the key to helping a child with autism is to be patient, be reasonable, and have a routine. So now when the word autism comes up in a conversation, you are now knowledgeable of what it is, what causes it, and how families live with it. And the next time you're at the grocery store and you see a young child throwing a fit about something small as their mom not getting the same brand of cereal that she always buys, you won't judge her on how poor her parenting skills are. You are now understanding the full picture.